Welcome to Three Questions, sponsored by the 18th Legislative District, Washington State Democrats. I'm your host, Wil Fuentes. Folks, welcome to the show. My guest today is Clark County Council Chair Sue Marshall. We'll be having a conversation about the county's comprehensive plan, Growth Management Act, and how it impacts our quality of life. Question number one. Chair of the Clark County Council, Sue Marshall, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
We're happy to have you. And so I have a few questions for you I'd like to ask.
Do you have three questions for
I
me?
have three questions and maybe a couple follow-ups that I can
Okay.
sprinkle. Yeah,
I'm ready.
Oh, great. So we'll be talking about the Comprehensive Plan and the Growth Management Act. Most people don't know what a comprehensive plan is. Now, do you care to share a little bit and enlighten our viewers what the comprehensive plan is, specifically for the county, Clark County?
Great. Happy to do that. Although I'm kind of wondering how much time we have because I'll do a brief overview.
That's good.
But I want to step back a little bit. It's a comprehensive land use plan, and we're required to do this and update it every 10 years. It got started with the Growth Management Act that was adopted by the state legislature back in 1990. So we are now in our third update, needs to be updated about every 10 years. And the Growth Management Act lays out 15 goals to achieve in the plan that we've developed. So it's protecting natural resources, agriculture, forests, streams. It plans for growth, how big a growth boundary should be, where you want to build things. Jobs, you have to plan for jobs and for roads and the infrastructure to support all of that. So that is the comprehensive plan. And the county is responsible kind of for the oversight of the whole plan. But each of the cities within Clark County are doing their own comprehensive plan. The county is responsible and has the authority to set the growth boundaries themselves.
Correct. So you mentioned that every city, the city of Vancouver, Battleground, Ridgefield, all of these jurisdictions within the county are also working on a comprehensive plan.
We're all doing it.
Now, are they aligned? Right? Do they communicate? Does the county communicate with other jurisdictions when planning for the future, or it's something that each jurisdiction does on their own?
The goal is to be aligned. Vancouver is kind of doing it on their own, but we're all operating under the same parameters. The assumptions about population growth, jobs that are required, and these numbers get divvied up amongst all the cities, and then they have to plan for and assure that they have enough land to accommodate the growth and the jobs and all of those things for the next 20 years.
Right.
You said, are they aligned?
Yeah, are they aligned? Yeah.
The process is to become aligned, but I would say, and the planning departments of all the jurisdictions, they meet on a regular basis. But within those 15 goals, there's some that are directly in conflict with each other. So it's up to the local communities to try to balance those. And so there is when the push-pull comes in trying to figure out what the plan is. So we're in the push-pull phase of the comp plan update.
Yes, we are. Now it was established back in the 90s by the state, the Growth Management Act, right? And so it's the law.
It's the law.
The county and every
It's
other
the law.
jurisdiction has to develop a comprehensive plan with specific goals. Right. Now, how much are we growing over the next couple of decades? Because that's generally when these goals are established, right? They're to start looking into the future over the next 20 years.
Over the next 20 years, approximately 200,000 people were adding to Clark County.
So people are moving to Clark County.
They are moving.
Why do you think that is?
And they're reproducing within Clark County as well.
Absolutely, yeah. Well, it's a great place to live.
It is a great place to live, and I think the whole idea with comprehensive planning is that you try to assure that it continues to be a great place for everybody, and planning is essential for that.
No, absolutely. We're growing tremendously, so we need a lot of housing. We need to improve infrastructure and build out more infrastructure. We need to protect our agricultural lands. So there's a lot going on, and it's important to have these clear objectives, these clear goals, right? So we're ensuring that the quality of life is there for everybody.
Yes,
Great.
exactly.
I have another question for you. Question number 2. So the comprehensive plan was expected to be completed by the end of 2025,
Right.
but we're still working on it.
We're still working on it.
We're still
yeah.
working on it, right? What's at risk for the delayed completion of this comprehensive plan for the county and other jurisdictions in the county?
Well, I can talk about why we're late.
Yes, please let me know.
Let me explain that a little
Yeah.
bit. And I think the comprehensive plan, it plays out over several years, and it builds on itself. So decisions that were made a few years ago, we're still using some of those numbers to influence what's going forward. And so originally, the deadline was June 30th, 2025.
That's the first deadline.
That was the first deadline. The state legislature said, because they added an additional goal, which was to address climate change, they said, we'll give you an additional 6 months. So that put the deadline at December 31st, 2025. Now, I think part of, there's a few things that happened. So as all of the cities in the county were planning based on these numbers that had already been agreed to about population and jobs and all of those things, some of the cities wanted really more land than could be justified based on the numbers. They should have had enough land within their boundary to accommodate that growth.
So they wanted to expand their existing boundaries.
They wanted to expand the existing boundaries, and so that's difficult. You have to justify it based on the numbers, but then it becomes even more difficult if you're wanting to expand onto agricultural land, because that's a goal in and of itself, to protect agricultural land.
Right.
And in order to do that, you have to do a countywide study to justify that, to see whether or not that land is still viable for agriculture. And when we first did that agricultural study back in the very beginning, in the early 90s, there was, it took about 2 years.
Oh, wow.
And so the feeling of the council at the time leading into the end of 2025 is we just don't have time to do that.
Right.
But the cities who had then come to us with their desires, some of the cities, not all of the cities, that the council at that time decided, and this was in December, they decided we're going to do this agricultural study. And so then leading into January, we have 2 new counselors, including you, and there was a different sentiment that said, no, we're not going to do this agricultural study. We just don't have time. Those that wanted to expand onto ag land were, I think, convinced if we could only do this study, it would justify us expanding into these areas.
Now, the study was done, though, right?
But the study was done, but there was some flip-flopping that happened with the council. And in the spring, I think it was that March, there was, and I think again because some of the cities were really pressing, let's get this study done so that we can expand into these areas. Well, so the study was done, and it turns out that it justified all the decisions that had been made before in terms of identifying those lands as prime ag, but then it went further because you have to do this countywide, because you're looking at long-term economic viability of agriculture. So you have to look at the whole land base. That a whole lot more really met that criteria for prime ag. It was like at least the same amount as that had been designated. So those folks that wanted to, those cities that wanted to expand are now, there's even less justification to do that.
So the study didn't just look at the agricultural land that these jurisdictions, that these cities were wanting to incorporate into their boundaries. It looked at the entire county.
It looked at the entire county. So it was rural land. It was all but forest land. Any land that we didn't include forest land. So it was all currently designated ag land and then rural land outside of the cities.
Okay, so it sounds to me like the study did not make the case. The outcome of the study did not make the case for these jurisdictions that were wanting to add some of this agricultural land.
Just the opposite.
It did
just
the opposite. Exactly.
And then you mentioned risk, and so I'll talk a little bit about risk. Now, with the Growth Management Act, so we submit our plans, we do what we do, and it goes up to the Department of Commerce. There is an ability for people to challenge that,
Right.
and that's where any kind of enforcement comes into play. Jurisdictions are left to themselves to prepare things and
Right.
submit it, and a deference is given to the jurisdictions that they got it right. But if there is a group or people that don't agree and want to challenge that, they can appeal, and they appeal to the Growth Management Hearings Board. And if the Hearings Board determines that we're out of compliance, there are penalties that can apply. And so where we're at right now is, because we were late, there was an appeal, and it was determined by the Growth Management Hearings Board that we're out of compliance.
We are out of compliance. That is correct.
And because we're months late, so what the penalties that they can impose is to withhold state grant funding.
Okay.
And so what's in jeopardy right now, I think we're up to close to $3 million.
So $3 million at risk of not being granted these funds by the state because we are out of compliance.
I think we have through September, if we're determined to be compliant at some moment that these grants could come through. But our deadline now, that our self-imposed deadline, because there's just so much work we have to do, is well into October. So Battleground, I think it's close to $800,000 for a park.
Wow.
Woodland, I think it's $500,000. It might have been for a park. I'm not quite sure what that was for. And it's $1.2 million for our public works, the county's public works department. I think for the clean water
And
department.
Public Works is responsible for infrastructure. $1.2 million that can go towards infrastructure here in our county is at risk, along with all the other grants that you mentioned for Woodland, for the city of Battleground, and who knows what other jurisdictions might be at risk of losing funding as a result.
Right. So because there was this flip-flopping and indecision and kind of dawdling on the part of I have to say, the county council.
It's the county council. They're responsible.
The majority
Absolutely.
of the county council. So that now we're in this position. So I think the state imposed deadline is the end of. Well, it might be. Let me see. It might be right now, and we know we're not going to make it. So we're steaming ahead as fast as we can.
I want to go back and ask a little bit about growth and quality of life. So why don't we get into that? Question number 3. Clark County continues to be one of the fastest growing counties in the state of Washington. Now, how do we balance the need for more housing and economic development while protecting farmland, natural areas, and more importantly, the quality of life of our residents?
That's a really good question. And that's why people should really be concerned and get engaged with the comp plan, because it's not over. It's not over yet. So I think in balancing it, it's most important, I think, that the community is engaged and, speak to their values, what's important to you. Obviously, there's a limited amount of land, so we have to figure out how to use it most creatively and efficiently, and economically as well, because as you expand growth boundaries, all that infrastructure has to be put in place to serve that. So I think that, the common phrase is grow up, but I think even as we're growing up, there's tools that could be put in place, like sub-area planning, and I know looking at our transit system and walkable cities, all of those things have to come into play. And as we're urbanizing more, I know people don't like change, but I think there's younger people, and as people age, they want different things out of their community. So all of those things need to be elevated, and we need to address those as we go along. Now, the county in our comp plan, we are dealing with codes. So what's allowable to even be built, so
Right.
townhomes or duplexes or cluster development, those are all things that could be, really quite nice
Right.
For people. And then if you have transit that's nearby, you can get around and meet all your needs. But there still needs to be parks. I think parks is
Yeah.
maybe often not thought of as part of the infrastructure that's needed for livable communities. But so we have to make sure that's on the table
Yeah.
as well. So I think community engagement in this, speak to your values and look for it. And I think as policymakers, we need to look at tools that can protect both the environment and the livable urban spaces.
Absolutely. Whether it's neighborhood parks, regional parks, parks with soccer fields, parks with baseball fields, we all take advantage of those, right? And people need to understand that, as you mentioned, that this is part of the infrastructure. We're going to continue to grow. You mentioned 200,000 people over the next couple of decades. That is a lot of people. And along with that, we need to bring jobs as well.
That's right. That's right.
If I remember correctly, it's 80,000 jobs we need to create over the next couple of decades to be able to, to fill that gap. I may be wrong.
I think you're right.
I think something along the lines.
Right.
Yeah. And so the comprehensive plan doesn't cover just a few areas, right? That allows us to look at policies that will improve the quality of life of community members. It looks at many different components. You've mentioned quite a few, including climate change and natural areas, etc. People need to be informed. How do people get informed? How do people stay engaged?
Well, I don't know if you can list things on your
Absolutely.
Good. Because
Yeah.
I think you should list the link to the county and the comprehensive plan update. There's a wealth of information there, and we're continuing to have meetings. There's the planning commission.
Right.
They meet. I think people. Not many people go to the planning commission,
No.
or you can, be online and provide testimony. They need to hear because
Absolutely.
they make recommendations to the council and yet communicate with the council.
Right.
We're not going to. I don't know when our next public hearing is related to the comp plan, but we're doing a series of work sessions, and I think it's important to communicate with us if you have any questions or suggestions or want us to find out more about things. It informs us about what's important to the community, so we
Absolutely.
can make sure we're bringing their voices to these work sessions.
And that's key. That is incredibly important. We need to hear from community members. People need to be engaged. After all, it's their community that's growing. Changes are happening. We can't stop it. And so what we'll do is we'll put the website here in our caption, so people have access to it, both through the planning commission and of course the county council.
Great, and they can listen to past
Absolutely.
meetings as well. There's
plenty-
no end.
There's no end. There's a lot of
end to the number of
information,
meetings
but
you can listen to.
we see the light at the end of the tunnel. Clark County Council Chair Sue Marshall, thank you for being on the show and explaining to our viewers what the comprehensive plan and how it impacts their lives.
Right, and people can communicate with us and with the staff as well. I know the staff has gone out to a number of neighborhood association meetings to learn more.
They're fully engaged. So thank you for being on the show.
You're welcome.
Absolutely.
Thanks for having me.
Folks, that is our show for today. Don't forget to hit like, subscribe, leave a comment, and hit the notification bell. We will see you next time.